The domestication of the horse is one of the most important milestones in history, fundamentally transforming human mobility, warfare, trade, and agriculture. Horse riding forever altered the world. Horses were first domesticated thousands of years ago on the Eurasian steppe, initially used for their milk, meat, and hides. But who were the first people to tame them, and when did they transition from using them for food to riding them? This is a topic of much debate and disagreement among scholars. Two major hypotheses are often discussed, the early riding hypothesis and the late riding hypothesis. We will explore these views, and in the end, I will share my perspective on the first horse riders. It's well established that people hunted wild horses for thousands of years. Evidence from Paleolithic cave paintings shows the deep fascination early humans had with these animals. They hunted them, requiring a deep understanding of the horse's behavior. As the Ice Age ended, horses' range shrank, and they survived primarily on the Eurasian steppe and in small pockets in Europe, Anatolia, and the Caucasus. These surviving horses were smaller than their steppe relatives. It's also widely accepted that modern horses worldwide are descended from the domestication that took place on the Eurasian steppe around 4000 BC. So, how did horse domestication happen? Genetic evidence from both modern and ancient horses reveals that wild mares were domesticated multiple times across a wide area. Male horses, however, show much less genetic diversity, suggesting that only a small number of wild stallions were ever domesticated. Mares live in hierarchical herds and are naturally inclined to follow others, which humans exploited for domestication. Stallions, on the other hand, are highly aggressive and difficult to tame. The wild horses of this era were different from modern horses. They had shorter legs, large bellies, and stiff manes, but still, they were formidable creatures. Our ancestors respected these animals for their power and strength, even as they sought to tame them. The reason for domestication might be linked to the horse's ability to survive harsh winters, unlike cattle, which need winter forage. Early herders might have driven wild horses into valleys, managed them close to their homes, and slaughtered them during winter. As they adapted to domesticating cattle and sheep, they may have learned to manage horses for similar purposes. But when did people start riding horses? Evidence for early horse riding is scarce, but some suggest it began around the 4th millennium BC, with increased movement across Eurasia, reflected in archaeological sites with horse bones and horse-themed art. Some believe that the spread of horse domestication and use coincided with the increase in population movements during this time. Evidence from ancient horse skulls and lower leg bones points to a culture of people who were likely the first to ride horses. Recent studies suggest that the Batar and Turcek cultures of Kazakhstan were among the first to domesticate horses, with some evidence suggesting they might have ridden horses too. However, some argue that the use of horses as riding animals didn't become common until much later, possibly not until the 8th century BC. One scholar, Robert Drews, contends that the evidence for early horse riding is weak, pointing out that riding horses for combat did not become significant until much later. The theory that early horse riders existed has been challenged by evidence of horse use for food and milk instead of riding. Yet, as horses spread through different regions, some argue that riding came to the forefront and became a key factor in the expansion of steppe cultures. Ultimately, the early use of horses, whether for riding or other purposes, contributed greatly to the mobility of early civilizations, leading to the dominance of mounted warriors, though the exact timeline remains unclear.